My name's Nathan Bell. I'm Head of Research at Peters McGregor, and this is a short video to introduce you to the latest holding within the Peters McGregor global portfolio, Metro Bank. Metro Bank is the latest kid on the high street as far as UK retail banking is concerned. It's currently valued at about £3 billion. It only opened its doors in the summer of 2010, so it hasn't been around very long at all. It was the first high street bank to open in the UK in over 100 years, and it was also the first bank to receive a UK banking licence in over 150 years. The bank currently has around 50 branches and it's opened nearly 1 million accounts. Total deposits are around £10 billion, and while that sounds like a lot of money, it has the aim of increasing deposits to £100 billion over the next 10 years. So the company currently has around 50 stores, but it's going to take around 200 to 250 stores to get to that 100 billion range. If the company succeeds, based on our estimates, the bank would be worth between 15 billion and 20 billion in 10 years' time, or over 5 times what it's currently valued at. Investors would probably only make 3 to 4 times their money though, due to the dilution of a couple of capital raisings along the way. The CEO and co-founder of Metro Bank is Craig Donaldson, who has a long history working for UK retail banks, including Barclays, and senior roles at Royal Bank of Scotland, which is a former holding of ours. His experience there was pivotal, particularly around the time of the GFC, as he viewed the customer service there as very poor and knew there must be a better way to serve UK customers. Fortunately, he was tapped by a guy called Vernon, who is famous within the banking industry for his remarkable stint founding and leading US bank Commerce Bancorp from 1973 to 2007. Remarkably, he was only 26 years old when he started the bank. Over 3 decades, Commerce Bancorp produced a 23% annualised return for shareholders. Hill and Donaldson are following the same playbook at Metro as Hill did at Commerce Bancorp, which is offering customer convenience. Now, I know every bank says they offer customer convenience, but we believe Metro is actually delivering. Everything from long-term opening hours and dish bowls for customers' pet dogs to coin counters for kids, Metro is about genuinely offering convenient banking. In this case, it's not just a slogan, it's a tried and true strategy that works. Well, for a start, every store is open 7 days a week and from 8 AM to 8 PM on weekdays. So this is very untypical of UK banks. This bank, Metro, is really trying to make banking convenient, and everyone knows that it's actually not very convenient to get to your bank at most times during the day. There's no need to book an appointment, you can just walk in at a time that is right for you to open an account. As the company has the latest technology and doesn't have hundreds of legacy IT systems that need to be integrated every time there is a major change, you can have an account opened within 15 minutes, complete with printed bank cards. Now that's absolutely unheard of in any bank that I'm aware of. Just to give you an example of what it means to not be stuck with these legacy IT systems, Metro's new mobile app cost just over £8 million to build, and reportedly Royal Bank of Scotland spent £120 million, and we've been told it's not very good either. Amazingly, up to 80% of Metro's store rental costs are covered by the revenue they get from offering safety deposit boxes. So with services for dogs to come in and for kids to come in, anytime you walk in, you don't have to make an appointment and you can walk out with your cards and with a new opened account within 15 minutes. This is all telling you that this isn't just a bank that talks about being convenient, it really is. This is a company that not only talks the talk but walks the walk. Well, the UK banking industry operates much like Australia's. There's 5 or 6 banks that dominate the market. In the UK, 90% plus of competition in business banking comes from 5 players. And when it comes to personal banking, it's 80% coming from 6 players. The UK market is a very highly profitable and consolidated market. Over the next 10 years, Metro is aiming to capture 4% of the market for deposits. And it also has a range of financial targets that it's laid out, and that's where we get to the 15 billion to 20 billion pound bank in 10 years. We actually did some mystery shopping of our own just to make sure that Metro wasn't just talking the talk. When we went into a couple of rival stores, Not only was there very poor service from the time you walked in, but to make an appointment to open an account took days, the stores were shabby, and the existing banks in the UK, much like they do around the rest of the world, are still on the old system of what's called batch processing, which means that even once you sign up for a new account, you often have to wait weeks to get your bank card sent in the mail. So it's just quite incredible that when a company like Royal Bank of Scotland or Lloyds, which we own, it's just very difficult trying to tie all these legacy IT systems together, and it makes it very hard to offer real-time service in the way Metro Bank does. The absolute key for Metro Bank is to increase the amount of deposits. Once people deposit their money in a bank, it's usually very sticky money. None of us like changing our deposit accounts. Once a customer opens a deposit account, provided they feel like a valued customer, they'll also tend to use more services over time. As Metro doesn't use financial incentives to acquire customers like its rivals, say offering £100 or £150 to open a new account, it needs to maintain its unrivaled customer service so that word of mouth spreads. And when was the last time one of your friends come over and said how good one of your banks are in Australia? The company is aiming to open around 20 new branches per year, so they need to increase their profitability relatively quickly, otherwise the bank will need to raise more money earlier or slow its growth plans. And both of these things could impact our valuation over time. It usually takes around 18 months for a store to become profitable, so you need to consider this when you analyse the bank's financials. While some ratios will look like the large mature banks, like the Royal Bank of Scotland or Lloyds, Metro's reported profitability will look low for a long time as it opens new stores. That's okay with us because what we want is a bank that can produce enough cash to reinvest at high rates of return. What we think about Metro is that this is a genuine compounder over the next 10 to 20 years. Ideally, people look at the banks these days and say they want a higher dividend, but what actually works much better over the long term is if you can find a great business that can take all of those profits and reinvest at high rates for the long term. That's the way you get that compounding effect and then you benefit from the magic of compound interest. What lessons can Australian banks learn from Metro? Well, first, technology, cheap capital and better service is lowering the barriers to entry. So if the big four banks don't start offering better service, they're going to be vulnerable to more competitors over time. Perhaps what the Aussie banks should have learned was that providing so many interest-only loans puts the financial system at risk. It was only 8 or 9 years ago when America and the UK saw how these types of loans can bring the entire system undone. But perhaps that's a lesson for the Australian regulators, which have been asleep at the wheel for several years despite some calls that we have the best regulated banks in the world. It's almost laughable. But at this point in the cycle, we're much more comfortable with our overseas listed banks that have already survived a housing crash and now increasing dividends as profits increase. This is in a stark contrast to the big four banks in Australia. If you've got any questions about Metro Bank or any of the other stocks in the Peters McGregor Global Portfolio, please don't hesitate to give us a call. Thank you for listening.